What's going on, guys? As many of you know, the first year of UA recently finished in the My Hero Academia manga, and I think it's fair to say it was a very, very long time coming. After a year of exams, joint training battles, and villain attacks, it's now time for us to predict what's going to happen in the second year. And with me today is Zhoniin and Vocal Pineapple. How are you guys doing?
I'm doing great, and I'm excited to be on a video in front of Turtle Quirk's audience.
Yes.
Well, yeah, this ain't the first time you've been here. I mean, I think we've done like, 5 collabs at this point, something like that.
But I'm sure you've had 100,000. Yeah, you've probably had 100,000 subs since my last collab with you. So hello, all of the new normies.
And also we have Pineapple. This is the first time on the channel as well for you.
Yes, of course. Thank you for having me here.
No worries, man. I've had comments like asking me when you're gonna come on the channel for like probably a year.
I hear a lot about like people commenting about like me just being missing. I feel like I definitely go missing in action a lot, so that's kind of par for the course.
Just for the viewers, today basically all of us have written 5 predictions for the second year of UA, and I guess over the course of the conversation we'll be seeing how much we overlap in what we're predicting. But yeah, spoiler warning ahead for any anime only, so if you do not read the My Hero Academia manga, then we will be talking about big spoilers here, but do check out their channels before you go. So, in terms of the first prediction, Zhoniin, I think you wanted to go first?
Yes, Shinso will replace Izuku.
Oh yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
Was I right in assuming that we had all wrote this down?
I don't have that one written down, but I'm definitely with that one.
Yeah, I didn't have it written down either, but to be honest, I thought he would join Class 1A regardless of whether Izuku was there, but yeah,
Agreed.
I mean, the fact that Izuku's left, yeah, he slots in perfectly.
I was waiting for an excuse for this to happen, and I don't know, it just seemed like it was going to be something that was more significant than what it could be possibly, because, you know, that was like or it is going to be a huge element of Season 5, and then it's kind of just abandoned and never even remotely mentioned again. I don't even think Shinso shows up again after chapter,
Yeah, he doesn't show
what,
up then.
213?
Yeah, it is quite interesting. I actually did have a small prediction about Shinso, but yeah, should I go into that?
If you
Yeah, let
wanna.
it rip.
So basically, like one of my predictions was that All For One or Shigaraki would attack UA, and the way that ties into Shinso is because I was thinking that if an attack like that happened, Shinso might use his brainwashing quirk on Shigaraki or All For One, whoever it might be. Because we all know Shinso's secondary purpose in this series is to send people to the vestige world.
Yes.
So I imagine that, you know, he would do that, and potentially that could be an out for Shigaraki to finally be free of All For One taking over his body. Potentially. Obviously, that's a very specific theory, but
I think that'd be really interesting.
yeah, I think it's plausible because, you know, he's done it to Deku twice now. You know, Shigaraki deserves a turn as well, I think. So, yeah.
I saw on Twitter from people that went to Hori's art exhibit today that one of the arts has Shinso in his hero costume in it. So I'm sure we're going to end up seeing him at some point in the future soon, as, you know, especially if Horikoshi designed it. I'm assuming we're going to see it.
Wait, that's huge. His hero
Yes.
costume?
So it's him in his hero costume along with the rest of Class 1A, and everyone's in their hero costumes. And apparently it's the big, you know, final art for the exhibit, but there's no photos of it because, you know, you can't take photos of it.
Oh, no
But
way.
I saw it described by Audrey on Twitter, and she said he has like fishnets and purple and white. And there's a really good description on her Twitter.
Interesting.
That I can't remember right off the top of my head, but yeah. So I wonder if that kind of confirms he's with 1A, if he's in that group shot.
So no 1B, just 1A.
No, I don't think there's any 1B students in it. I think it's all the Class 1A students, Deku, and Shinso in his hero costume.
Okay, awesome. I mean, I need to see that. Like, I
I
even
missed that.
Yeah, I
tweet.
also
How
need
did I
to-
miss that?
All of the art from that exhibit, I need it. I need to have it in some sort of like book form. I need to see it.
I need that All Might statue in my room right now.
yeah, the gold statue.
I need someone to put the sign on it.
But I'm moving on to the next prediction. Pineapple, do you want to go next?
All right, so my first one I have written down is the UA traitor will be revealed while everyone and their parents are at UA, and Deku isn't there. I feel like
Okay.
this is like probably something that could really raise a lot of tension. It's a good way to get back into that plot line, because a lot of people like to think that plot line has been dropped or that Hori's forgotten about it or something, which I think is really funny. But I feel like right now with everyone back at UA, it's the perfect time to maybe get back into that plot line if, you know, we're ever going to get back there, especially with us heading towards the end or getting into this final chapter. I
Yeah.
think this would be the perfect time.
And do you think like the traitor would intentionally like reveal themselves, or do you think it's more like they're being found out by someone?
Well, my like strange thing is like you're saying that you think that maybe All For One and Shigaraki might attack UA.
Yeah.
What if the traitor lets them in? What if there's some sort of defenses that they slip past because someone allows them to get through? It's like a more important thing than just something that happens like off screen, right? So I would hope that it's something that's, you know, really, really tension building and something that would require Deku's attention and everyone else's attention, because, you know, it's been a long time since we've been trying to figure out who the traitor is, right? Like we've heard that it's not any of the students. That's kind of not really been in question for a long time, and that makes me wonder, like, who is it? Who could it be? I feel like it has to be somebody kind of important, unless it's going to be someone who it's like, oh, you know, like,
I really hope it's not like someone irrelevant, because after all it's been so long. You know, after so long, we can't just have it be some irrelevant
some
teacher
random.
that'd be terrible. That'd be terrible. We need it to be someone that we actually care about, someone that we just wouldn't believe, or, you know, something like that. Do you have any picks for who it might be right now? Either of you?
Yes.
Go
So
ahead,
I
go
wrote this
first.
down as well. I wrote down the traitor reveal. I mean, it essentially has to happen. If we are truly in the final act of the series, there's no better time to do it, obviously, than now. But going back to Nezu and how Horikoshi may have forgotten about the traitor storyline. Obviously, he hasn't forgotten, because he did mention it back in Chatter 240 something, right? That was the last time it was brought up, when Nezu was talking to the other teachers. He was like, well, there's been no incidents in the last 4 months, so I guess that means nobody's a traitor, or there's no student is a traitor, or something, right? Something like that.
No, I think he was, what he was saying was that, like, after the next battle, we'll know if one of the students is a traitor or not. I think he was kind of implying that if nothing happens during, you know, the war that happened, then none of the students are traitors, and obviously nothing did happen, so I guess we can assume that it's none of them. So yeah, it must be a teacher, I guess.
So either that was literally the wrap up to that storyline, which would be incredibly anticlimactic, and unlike Horikoshi's writing, at least in my opinion, or it's just, I don't know, he's been letting it build up subtly. I mean, obviously we all were paying attention very close to the war for multiple reasons, and one of them was to see if there was going to be some kind of traitor, you know, slip up or something, and as far as I know, there wasn't. So I would like to think that it's still a student rather than a teacher, and I'm guessing it's got to be Hagakure at this point.
Yeah, it'd be easy for her to be the one.
My theory was that she's like not even like a teenager. She's like a full-blown adult.
She's just some adult?
Yeah.
That's horrifying.
I actually like the idea. I've never thought about that, but we can't know. That is a really good idea, actually.
It's so ridiculous. I love it.
But other than that, I have no idea other than that, just out of left field pitch.
My only random Hail Mary might be that Aoyama might have some sort of involvement or knowledge of who the traitor is, because there's that weird conversation that he had with Deku about not trusting still waters that run deep or something like that. I feel like Aoyama has some sort of like darkness behind, you know, the obvious twinkling and lights and all the glitz and glamour. You know, besides his backstory with his quirk and whatnot, I feel like there's something more to Aoyama, and maybe not necessarily that he's the traitor, but maybe he's like trying to figure it out, or maybe he has some sort of idea, and I really hope that he gets tied into that somehow.
So Aoyama, definitely suspicious, and I was always on the fence about, is that just a red herring from Horikoshi? Does he just want us to think that Aoyama is suspicious, or that he's just eccentric and like pseudo-French or something? But there is that one really weird sequence which I still can't make sense of. It's back in the training camp arc when I think it's a training camp arc when Aoyama's hiding behind the bushes from Dabi and Twice, and Dabi straight up sees him and he doesn't do anything.
I feel like Dabi looked in that direction, but I'm not 100% sure he actually saw Aoyama. Like, he was definitely going there, and Aoyama was like hiding behind the bush, but did he actually like physically see who it was? I'm not 100% on that.
I'll say that the anime makes it out that he sees him, but maybe the manga panel is a little more ambiguous.
Yeah, I'd have to check that.
Yeah. Okay, well, let's go over to my prediction, and I think this is probably my most controversial one, so I'm going to get it out pretty early. And that is that Deku might not actually return to UA once this is all over. And now I had a couple reasons for thinking this, but I guess the primary one at the front of my head was that with the Danger Sense quirk, Deku's going to be sensing things happening all the time, and there's no way you can make him sit in a classroom. He has a provisional hero license, no one's going to stop him. So I feel like the pieces are in place for him to just continue from this point onwards, be a bona fide hero, and gradually get his full hero license just by, doing practical work rather than going back to school. And also, one other thing, I would say he is stronger probably than most pro heroes in Japan. I mean, besides the top guys, who could touch Deku? I feel like he is, with all these powers, he is just so OP. There's barely anyone who could touch him. So, yeah, I doubt he's going back to UA, though for the story purpose, maybe he will, but I feel like realistically he shouldn't.
I really feel like there's not much reason to go back to school for Deku. Besides, your friends and finishing the school and that All Might went to and all those like symbolic things. I don't really see him sitting in one place too long, especially while Shigaraki's a threat. I don't see it. And even after that, just, you know what I mean? Deku, with his will to save people, I agree. There's no way he's going to sit in a classroom when someone needs help and a teacher's going to tell him no. No.
Exactly. And I feel like there's, we all saw it the other week when he took out Muscular with one punch, basically. There's very few heroes who can do that. I mean, Endeavor's probably the only other one I can think of who could come close.
He's needed out there.
Exactly. Without him, a lot of people will be screwed. So I feel like, you're right. He is 100% needed. Can't go back to school. Just can't happen.
I never really, I guess, said it out loud that he wasn't going to return, but I've always kind of just internally felt that this was like the end of his tenure in UA for sure. Like once he left, there was no reason for him to go back. Not necessarily because of his obligations or anything. It just felt like that narrative-wise, whether he ultimately dies in the end or just whatever else happens, I just don't see him like going back to school. There's just no point. It's like Kobe leaving high school to go to the NBA. Like you're already good at that point.
Yeah. Like, why would you go back to high school? There's no point. Shonen, did you want to go next?
Okay. So this is more of a downer, an unfortunate realization, but I think it's going to be revealed soon that there is no new students coming to UA, meaning that there's no new freshman class, there's no new 1A, there's no new 1B, and there is no sports festival.
Interesting. Well, you know what? The sports festival thing is something that I was thinking as well, but I didn't go that far though. I didn't imagine that there'd be no new students, but that is an interesting thought.
There'd be a lot of characters to have to add into the series this late.
That too. It's like, considering that the series is coming to an end, it makes it extremely unlikely that it's going to happen. And just also, what's going on in or at least Japan right now, and I guess the world as by proxy too. It's just unfortunate, as I'll say, is that kind of needs to be put out there, because realistically, if this was continuing to go on to a length that like Bleach, Naruto, dare even say One Piece would, then yeah, for sure, introduce another 20 or 40 new characters into the story. I mean, don't even give them all spotlight, but at least just give them a name and a panel or something. Yeah. And then, maybe a few of them are like, hey, I'm the new Bakugo type guy or something. But yeah, the sports festival is even more unfortunate in my opinion, because at least you could have an excuse for having no new students, but then it's like, maybe we'll have a new sports festival, but given the way that the things are turning out, they just don't have time.
Yeah, that's the biggest heartbreak.
Yeah, because that would have been like such a fantastic portion of a latter part of the series.
There's so many things that needed to be paid off in like a second sports festival, then now it's like,
Yeah, I feel like, the whole purpose of it in the first place was to, for kids to show off to the pro heroes and maybe get internships and stuff like that. And the way Hero Society is right now, heroes are retiring, they're resigning, they're going to other countries. Like, it's not really the right environment for you to be doing a sports festival.
Yeah, they're reading the room probably. Yeah.
But when it comes to the new year, though, I feel like they could still have new students because, when we look at the series so far, how much have we seen of Class 2A or Class 3A? Like, we only know, like, the big three and that one girl who appeared in that one panel. But besides that, we don't actually need to see them. We just need to know they're there. So I feel like you could just have a one-off sentence where it's like, oh, the new UA students, they've arrived, or something like that. They don't need to be important. They could just be there.
I'll take that rather than nothing.
I wonder how the teachers work. Like, do they continue with their class into the next year, or do they stay in... Like, would Aizawa still be their teacher in 2A? Like,
I assume he wouldn't be their homeroom teacher. You know what? That's something I hadn't thought about.
That's an odd question.
Potentially, maybe there are teachers at UA that we don't actually know yet.
I would like that a lot. I feel like Just some super badass teachers.
Yeah, I mean, I would imagine there'd have to be, right? Because like, there's so many classes. You know, class 3B. Like, who's their teacher? Probably not anyone we know. I reckon.
Yeah, who's teaching general studies?
Yeah.
Snipe.
Oh, is
he?
it?
No, I'm just joking.
Oh, I was gonna say, damn, man, you pulled that out of nowhere.
Yeah.
That was impressive.
He's read the encyclopedia.
No. That's just where it would be funny.
But yeah, like it would be cool to see like new teachers teaching their new students and stuff like that. But moving on to the next one, so I had a little bit of a weird prediction, and that was that we will get a second My Villain Academia arc. And I know that might be weird for some people in the comments. I imagine many people don't think that will happen, but I do have a reason. And it was basically this one panel we got after AFO escaped from prison. And obviously it was, you know, All For One controlling Shigaraki's body. And Spinner says to him, you know, you're not the guy I chose to follow. And I feel like many of the other people in the league might feel that same way, Reed Destro in particular. There might be a little bit of a villain civil war potentially, where there's the side for Shigaraki who want him back, and there's the other side who just don't give a crap, like Dabi or whoever else it may be who wants to follow All For One or not. So I feel like there's a lot to be sorted out before the villains eventually go and fight Deku. You know, it doesn't have to be a long arc like the previous My Villain Academia. It could be 10 chapters, maybe 15 chapters. But I feel like we should get a villain-centered arc during the second year at some point.
I completely agree. My Villain Academia is probably my second favorite arc now in the series after the War arc. And even during the War arc, I felt like there were moments where the villains kind of seemed like they didn't really care about Shigaraki. Like there was that one electricity guy who's like, this is what we get for waiting. And everyone in the basement ran to Reed Destro specifically for help when everything at the mansion started to go wrong. And it just kind of felt to me like, you know, it's not really a power struggle because Reed Destro doesn't care to take the power from Shigaraki because he's kind of accepted it. But there is still that issue of people aren't really looking to Shigaraki as the leader, right? Like they're looking kind of at Reed Destro still, if they're part of the Metal Liberation Army or this and that. And now you have that whole situation with All For One, and I feel like it just kind of throws the whole leadership into question. So I do agree that there's probably going to have to be some sort of structuring or something. And now you have all these villains just randomly running around in the street. Like, how do you get everyone together for any sort of final confrontation?
It did seem like there was like a line being drawn at the end of chapter 298, I think it was, when All For One drops off Shigaraki and like the core of the League of Villains, and then he just dips out somewhere. And, you know, they ultimately were all, I mean, the League of Villains was ultimately all he was saying. It's for Shigaraki. Like, they're down for Shigaraki, not down for All For One.
It is a tricky situation because, like, we already know that the League are aware of All For One. Like, they know he is technically above Shigaraki. He's Shigaraki's master. But would they follow him? Probably not, I reckon.
Yeah, I wouldn't think so. All right. So my second prediction is Stain and Gentle will both have some sort of interaction with Deku at some point in the future. We've seen that he's kind of seeing a bunch of his old villains. He had that flashback a couple chapters ago seeing everyone. And I think it'd be really fitting for him to have a conversation with the two of them and for either of them to maybe help him out. So, you know, obviously Gentle, we've seen him kind of on the track to going back to, you know, being a member of society. I think maybe it'd be cool if he was some sort of vigilante or hero or something. That'd be a really nice role for him to step into, especially considering, you know, that's kind of what he wanted to do his entire life. And Deku right now is having these conversations with everyone, asking them why they do things, asking them why they're villains. And I think it'd be really cool for him to see a villain that he's already fought against in the role of kind of a hero. And that being because of his words, you know, like that being because he listened to Gentle's pain and what Gentle was going through and actually affected change in Gentle that caused him to go from being a villain into being like, I mean, you know, a vigilante or a good guy or something. And I'm just wondering how that would affect Deku right now, especially since he's questioning everybody.
I would love to see that. I would love to see Gentle as like he would probably be like have a provisional license or something like that, right? Because if I'm remembering correctly, in the Vigilantes manga, there was an alternate way for people to get their hero licenses. Like, you don't have to go through.
Yes, that's true. And Gentle did get a little extra focus in those panels in the flashback. Like everyone got like kind of grouped together out of the big villains, and Gentle and La Brava got like a little bit of a bigger panel. So I'm wondering if Gentle is going to come back. I would assume he is, because that probably has to have some sort of payoff, I would imagine. So I do hope we see him again, and I know we're seeing Stain again. slowly. You've seen him go and get his sword again. I'm wondering if he's going to find Yoroi Musha.
Just ask him what his quirk is.
Yeah, we need to know. Like, we saw this guy and we just have no idea what his quirk is still. It's unbelievable.
We
Number
just know
9
he
hero.
has armor and swords. That's all we get. So I would love to see them maybe have like a little fight or something, but I guess that kind of goes against me wanting Stain to meet up with Deku and be like, yeah, hey, this is me. This is why I do these things. How are you doing? Do you need any help?
Yeah, by the way, I just killed the old number 9 hero.
Yeah, don't mind me.
Yeah, I completely agree that Gentle will come back for sure. I think it's guaranteed at this point. And we don't even have to go down the route of him getting a provisional license or going through another alternative method. I'm assuming that like by the end of the series, it's going to be just pandemonium, just even bigger than the war arc, essentially. And given that we're down a whole bunch of heroes, they're going to be like, you know what?
If you can help,
help. Just go out there. Just go help. Go ahead. But as for my next thing, I also wrote down that Izuku would meet up with Stain again. Because I do think that's going to happen, but I'll go into my other one, which I think might compound with that, and it's that All Might is for sure going to die very soon. I mean, All Might is going with them. Why? Like at the end of the last chapter, All Might was like, "Hey, I'll tag along with you guys. I'm going.
Can I come?"
And then even Best Jetus is like, "Are you sure that you should be coming?"
He is a skinny old man. Like, he has no quirk. I just don't get it. Like, he must know that he's setting himself up here. Like, in the back of his mind, he must think, oh yeah, there's this prediction I'm going to die around this time. I'm putting myself in harm's way. I'm actively going to find the 2 strongest characters in the series, the villains. Like, maybe he wants to die. I don't know.
While in Gucci shades, by the way, and Lamborghini, just having the best time of his life.
Wait, is that what his fancy car is?
I'm not sure if it's exactly that, but it's just he's definitely Bruce Wayning right now in a way that I don't think he's ever done openly before, and I love it. He's living.
Like, he knows he's not living much longer, so he's like, may as well,
Time the ball out.
Yeah.
Yeah, this could be his own self-fulfilling prophecy that he just decides to go on about. But how he dies, I mean, it's probably going to be the hands of Shigaraki, if not All for One, of course. But going off of what I was saying before about Stain, I think it's possible that once All Might dies, this might give a reason for Stain to meet up with Izuku, because I'm super curious to see how Stain would react to All Might's death. I mean, it just ultimately might lead to like Stain potentially just straight up teaming up with Izuku.
I really want those two to have a conversation, Stain and All Might.
Yeah.
Like we've been.
I always talk about
for
this.
So long.
Yeah. What the hell? Why
come on? And then we didn't even get the conversation because he just gets out of prison. And now they're just out in the streets, probably a block from each other. And who knows?
Yeah, I mean, now that you mention it, Stain might not even know what happened to All Might, because he's been in Tartarus this whole time. I mean, they don't get information there. I mean, All for One pretty much said it. They don't get told what's happening on the outside world. So when Stain broke out recently, he probably doesn't know that All Might has lost all his powers and is this old man. So it would be really, I guess if they met, it would be kind of surreal for Stain to see him like that.
And also, little does he know of like the connection between All Might and Deku, like just how deep that goes. Like,
yeah,
that'd be really interesting to explore. I do really agree that Deku and Stain also need to have a conversation.
Moving on to my last prediction, because I had another one, but it was about the sports festival, so we kind of already mentioned that being cancelled. So the last one that I had on my list was the death of a student. And, it doesn't have to be a major player, it doesn't have to be Bakugo or someone like that, but just a student dying. It feels like these guys have been sent to the battlefield already, right? We had the whole war arc where, if we're being realistic, a student could have died very easily in that whole situation, with Shigaraki and Gigantomachia and all that. It's almost kind of lucky that a student didn't die. So I feel like going forward, if we're going to be, if it's the end game, you can kill off characters at this point, I feel. And I also feel like during the war arc, one too many characters survived. I'm looking at Gran Torino specifically.
Valid.
So I feel like we need to compensate for that a little bit in the final act by, a student should die just in the heat of battle. Maybe it could be a great moment, I feel like.
No, but you're going to have a lot of marks in the comments after this question saying that, like, well, they'll never kill a student because Jump won't allow it and blah, blah, blah. It's like, okay.
No, I feel like worse has happened in other series. Trust me.
Yeah.
Like, they definitely would allow it, especially if the series is ending. I feel like it's free range.
Vigilantes, they killed off Shirakumo. You know, he was a student.
That's valid.
Yeah, you can't do that. I mean, if you're doing it in a side manga, surely in the main series, you could do it once, right? Like, before the end of the series, you could do it one time.
Oh wait,
think would hurt
Shirakumo.
the most?
That's a good thing to bring up. I mean, we don't want to run the video too long, but just him, coming back.
True. Yeah, actually, during the prison break, we didn't see him, did we?
It
No.
wasn't explicitly confirmed that Kurogiri was broken out. I mean, I guess he was, but it just wasn't shown.
Yeah, we
right?
can only assume that he was, because he was there. I'm sure they didn't just leave him there.
I
But
mean, they
what's up
showed
with
him.
Okay, so he probably is broken
Oh,
out.
that
then.
doesn't bode well.
I remember I had this debate on Twitter a long time ago, and it's about whether Eri could rewind him potentially. And I remember some people saying like you can't do it because then he just end up dead because he's technically a corpse, a Nomu. I was of the opposite opinion. I was thinking that no, you can turn him back to normal because we've seen for a fact he's still in there, regardless of what you might think. He's in there.
Yeah,
feel
if
like
All Might
Aizawa-
said that she could turn somebody back to a monkey, then she could turn Kurogiri back to a Shirakumo.
That was all my predictions, though, guys. Did you have any ones left over?
I have one about Shigaraki and All for One. So I think that the solution for dealing with All for One's control of Shigaraki is going to somehow be involving taking All for One from Shigaraki. But when you do that as Deku, you're going to have to deal with now you have the All for One vestige.
A vestige, as we see with Shigaraki, a vestige can literally take control of a person.
Yeah.
So that's the worrying thing. Like, if he's always there, however unlikely, there's always that 0.1% chance that All for One could take over whoever's
feel like
consciousness he's in.
That's really interesting, though, as far as Deku having to have that battle of wills. But I feel like if you do that, you free Shigaraki from All for One's control, and then what's he left with? He's left with this ridiculous body that he has, and I would assume, decay?
His body by itself, he wouldn't even, to be a threat, he doesn't even need decay. Like, he's just ridiculous.
No, yeah, he's it's crazy.
Shonen, did you have any last words?
No, I agree with Pineapple on that. I never even thought about that, but that would be a great ending to All for One if he's just like ganged up on by the vestiges in the vestige world and they finally get their ultimate revenge on him.
Yeah.
Because he
Poetic
killed all of
justice for
them,
him.
basically.
Yeah.
Awesome, guys. Well, thank you for hopping on the channel today. And for anyone watching who hasn't already subscribed to these guys, then the link is in the description. They make great content, so you definitely need to check it out.
Thank you. Thank you for having
Hey,
me.
anytime, buddy.
Until the next one, peace out.